It all started about 2 years ago when I gave birth to my first child, my son, a baby boy. Absolutely adore him, obsessed. Anyways, when he was about 6 months old, I remember a very specific moment where I was sitting in my rocking chair and I felt so much gratitude in that moment, just staring down at my child, thinking, oh my goodness, I have this one life where I get to be his mother and I get to be married to my husband and I have this family and friends and I just have this beautiful life and I have not been living it fully, like at all. I used to make a joke that I would spend more time watching people live their lives online than I would living my own. So, in this moment of gratitude, I was like, okay, you know what? I need to live my life so fully. And I'm going to start by just saying yes to things that I'm excited about. And that seems so simple and easy. But I was coming from a mindset where I was like overly logical about most things. Like, I'll give you an example. I love to paint. I am an amateur painter, like by every definition, but I just love painting. Like it's so relaxing, it's fun, like the colors, whatever. But I would never paint. I would think to myself, okay, I have to buy all of the materials and then I'm going to paint something. And then what am I going to do with it afterwards? Like, am I going to hang it up in my house? No, probably not. Am I just going to throw it away? Then that's a waste. Okay, I'm just not going to do it at all. Like that is how I approached basically everything. And so there would be things that I was excited about or interested in, and I would just talk myself out of everything. So I decided I'm not going to do that anymore. I am going to just, if something lights me up, if something is exciting, I'm just going to say yes and go for it and not make any excuses. So, shortly after that, I got an email about a yoga teacher training program at a local studio. And as I was reading the email, I got so excited. Like, it looked like absolutely something that I wanted to do. And of course, my mind could have a list of reasons why I should not do it, like underqualified, don't even know if I want to be a yoga teacher, to be honest. And do I even have time? I'm a new mom, right? But I was like, you know what? No, I'm going for things now. I'm a new person. So I just signed up. And I remember the very first day that I was sitting in a circle with all of the other people that were there for this training. And in that moment, I had this overwhelming feeling of, I have no idea why I'm here, but this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like it was just this inner knowing. Every weekend that I would come back to this training, it was that same feeling of like, I don't even know if I want to be a yoga teacher. I don't really know what the outcome is supposed to be. I'm just like excited to be here. And I took a lot from that training. So I started to approach the rest of my life that way. So if things just felt, you know, good, or if I had this like inner knowing, this gut feeling of like that I should do something, that I would just go and do it. Kind of similar. So it was like this process started off as me following whatever I was excited about, and it began to evolve into this process of learning how to tune into my intuition and my inner knowing and following that path. So, just to give you a timeline of events or a time period, kind of a reference point. This all happened in October of 2023, that I was making this commitment to change, that I was starting this yoga teacher training program. And in that same time period, I did a few more things. I reached out to a therapist because I was going to be coming back from mat leave during this time, and I thought maybe it'll be helpful to have someone to just talk to help me to help ease that transition. I ended up reaching out to a hypnotherapist. Strangely enough, I had no idea what a hypnotherapist was, but I came across her page on Yelp, and I don't know, something just pulled me to her for some reason. So I reached out to her. She had said she had a wait list, and that kind of like fell through. But just hold that. It will become important later in the story. I also had, at this point in time, I had done Reiki a few times, a form of energy healing, and I had reached out to my Reiki practitioner and told her that I wanted to learn Reiki. This surprised even myself. I never thought that I would want to learn how to be an energy healer. But again, this was just me like following my interests, following my excitement without judging it, without making excuses. And again, two important notes to just make note of, and we will come back to those. They are important later on in the story. So, next, in about December of 2023, I was having a lot of reoccurring dreams, and I couldn't figure out what they were about or like what the deal was. So, I decided to book a session with my Reiki practitioner. She's a Reiki master, but regardless, you get it. So I booked this session with her in December, and I thought this would be a great time to just like clear out any old energy. We're going to be heading into a new year. We were going to be heading into 2024. And so I thought, why not? So during this Reiki session, I kind of explained the reoccurring dreams, and I also set the intention that I was open to any messages. The Reiki master that I go to is intuitive, and in the past she had given me messages from my inner child. So I thought, you know, I'm open. I love to hear that kind of stuff. So in that session, she kind of does her thing. It's a remote healing session, so I'm just kind of like lying on my bed, taking the time to just close my eyes and relax. She does the energy work, and then after we reconvene for a little debrief of what she worked on in the session. So, in the debrief, she had told me that my ancestors came forward, and she said that I come from a long lineage of healers on my dad's side of the family. And this like shocked me. I had absolutely no idea. And immediately I was like, wait, is this why I'm doing this yoga teacher training program? And she was like, yeah, like yoga's a great start, but I feel like you're gonna go like way deeper into this. And then I was like, wait, is this why I wanted to learn Reiki? But basically, the takeaway from the session was you're a healer, and we want you to step into that in your own way. So, yeah, she just recommended exploring, like doing a bunch of exploring, just following my intuition, following whatever I was interested in, and seeing where that led me. So I told her, okay, well, sign me up for your Reiki training in 2024. She did. I was set to learn in April of 2024. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna continue in this exploration phase that I'm in already. So, in around January or February, I actually did get really interested in hypnotherapy, bringing it back to the earlier detail. Like, I was just listening to my podcasts, just exploring different topics like I like to do. I go down a lot of different rabbit holes, love my podcasts, and I got into um, Joe Dispenza's work where he talks about meditation and brain wiring. And then that kind of led me down the rabbit hole to better understand um, hypnotherapy and how you can access your subconscious mind through hypnotherapy. And that might be kind of like a shortcut way to brain rewiring. So, anyways, this was all fascinating to me, and I thought, let me just look up some hypnotherapists in the area. So I go on Yelp and I'm kind of just scrolling through, and there's a few that seem interesting, and I'm kind of like, there's a few with good reviews as well. And so I'm kind of just like looking through them, and I'm kind of like, until I see this one woman. And the minute I see her picture, I'm like, her. Something about her I'm just like drawn to. So I go to send her an email. And when I do that, I realize that she is the same person who I had reached out to back in October when I was looking for a therapist before going back from my mat leave. So I was like, wait, okay, there's something drawing me to her. I don't know why. I have absolutely zero idea why, but something is drawing me to her. So maybe I should just reach out. So I did. I sent her an email, and at this point in time, she was like, my waitlist is empty. I'm available Thursday if you're free. And so I was like, great, okay, sign me up. And so we did this introductory call, and I literally showed up on day one and I was like, listen, I don't know why I'm here, but I know that I'm supposed to be here. So, like, tell me what your services are. Like, I'm down. So she tells me that she does somatic hypnotherapy. And the second she said that, I got excited because I had been interested in somatic work in the past, but I wasn't really sure how to go about it. And so I was like, okay, wait, maybe this is why I felt drawn to you for some reason, or why I felt guided to you, because I'm definitely someone who has spent a good amount of time dissociated from their body. And I really felt like somatic work could be helpful for me. So I won't get into too much detail in terms of the somatic hypnotherapy process, because I do want to explain that in a later episode, because I think that healing work has just been like so pivotal to my experience. So that is something I do want to talk about, but I'll just mention briefly for now. If you've ever heard anyone say that trauma is stored in the body, unprocessed emotions are stored in the body, when you are doing stomatic work, it is the process of releasing that. I signed up for 12 sessions. It was like a package situation. And in each session, I would basically just lie down, and she would put me into a state of hypnosis, which in the beginning I was kind of scared of. I was like, well, I don't really know what to expect, but it ended up being like a guided meditation. Like, if you've ever done a guided meditation before and you start to feel really relaxed, like that is what it felt like. I was entirely conscious the entire time, so I don't think I was in a deep state of hypnosis, but my body felt very relaxed. So once I was in a state of hypnosis, then she would have me focus on something that triggered me during that week, that like provoked a strong emotion. And then I would focus on feeling that sensation in my body of that emotion, and then my body would respond. So it was really interesting. I would start crying, I would start laughing, and I was like, I didn't know it was like there was no context. Like I didn't know what I was crying about or what I was laughing about. I actually wasn't having any memories throughout the entire process. That is like a normal thing. Most people do have memories. I did not. Um, my body was shaking a lot, like a lot, a lot, a lot. I hold a lot of tension in my jaw as well, and it would just like I don't even know how to just describe that. It would like chatter. Um, and then it would just kind of like keep going and then it would stop. So it was so fascinating to witness. It was absolutely wild. I had no idea that that was all possible. And 10 sessions in is where it got real interesting. So there was one specific day that, or one specific session where she put me down into a state of hypnosis. And at this point, I was, I think, so comfortable with the process. I wasn't scared. And so I was just like fully surrendering to it. And I feel like I was experiencing like a lot of shaking happening. And after the session was over, I felt so much energy in my body. It was like I had taken 4 espresso shots. I remember going with my husband to Target afterwards and I was like amped up and then I was like crashing after. It was like super interesting. And then later that night, I was up until like 3 a.m. because I still felt so much energy in my body. So, anyways, the following week, I come back to her and I'm like, this is what happened in the last session. It was so interesting. Like, I don't know why I was experiencing such high energy afterwards. And my hypnotherapist was intuitive as well. And she was like, what do you do for work? And I explained to her, and she was like, interesting. I think you're an energy healer. And I was like, what? You're the second person to tell me that I'm a healer of some sort. And I was just trying to process that information. And she was like, yeah, I think you should learn Reiki. And I was like, okay, interesting. Yes, I'm actually scheduled to learn Reiki in 2 weeks. So, anyways, I'm processing all of this, and we're like, okay, we're going to get back to the session, like proceed as normal. And this time, as I went into the session, I go down into hypnosis and my hands start to raise. And I'm used to this because in the past I had experienced a lot of like tension coming up to be released. So like my shoulders would come close to my ears and my arms would raise. But this time, my arms came fully up and my hands started to move in circles, and I could feel swirling balls of energy in the palms of my hands. And I was like, I think my hands are showing me what to do. And I was in a state of complete awe. And she was like, yeah, Lisa, it's the essence of who you are. So your body already knows what to do. And I was just completely stunned. And eventually my body started shaking again, like it was releasing energy. And she said, I think the energy is just introducing itself to you. And so I was like, okay, hi. And then my hands come up and they start waving at my face. True story, I swear. And again, I was just like stunned at this point. And after a while, my hypnotherapist had another client to go to. And so I was like, okay. And so I said out loud, just sort of speaking to the energy, speaking to, I don't know, my hands. I wasn't really sure at this point in time. And I just said, I'm so happy you're here and I'm excited to learn how to work with you. but I have to go take care of my son now. So maybe let's just hit pause. And at that moment in time, everything stopped. Like my hands just fell to my side, and that was it. And next, I was like, oh my goodness, what? How the hell am I going to explain this to my husband? So I proceeded to come out of our room into our kitchen, and he's like, hey, how'd the session go? And I proceeded to explain everything that happened. And he was there, and my mom was there, and they were both looking at me like, oh my goodness. I think that they were as stunned as I was. And I'll never forget the first words out of my husband's mouth were, did I marry Goku? Shout out to him for that answer or for that response, because that immediately put me at ease that he was able to joke about it. And I was like, yes, I think you did marry Goku. And I have no words. I feel like speechless as I'm even like repeating the story. Like it is that, like this just rocked my world. I think that now so much time has passed. Like as I'm sitting here recording today, it's been a full year since that took place. So I've had a lot of time to just process and understand and dive more into it. And so, like now I have a completely different lens than I did 1 year ago. But at that point in time, when this was all taking place, like it was just reality shattering. It changed everything I knew about how I viewed the world, how I viewed my body, how I viewed, I could go on. Anyways, we'll keep going. So, next, I go actually to my very first Reiki training, and this took place in April of 2024. And in this training, I'll never forget the very first exercise. The Reiki master, she had us hold our hands, palms facing each other, very close together, and she had us just practice feeling the energy between our hands. And she asked us to close our eyes, and there was a group of about four of us, and she asked us to close our eyes and just kind of like separate the hands just a little bit further and further and further and see how far we could go while still being able to feel the energy between our palms. And as we were closing our eyes, my hands just started to move. And I was like, oh my God, is anyone else seeing this? Like, do I stop it? I don't want anyone to think I'm crazy. Anyways, I just let it happen. And eventually she said, okay, now position your hands as far apart as you possibly can while still maintaining that feeling of being able to feel the energy. And my hands just shoot far out beside me, and I could still feel the energy between my palms. And then she said, okay, now everybody open your eyes. And everyone's like right here, and I'm like right here, and everyone's kind of looking at me, and I'm like, okay, I have some explaining to do. So we're supposed to take turns, just kind of like explaining what that experience was like for us. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go first, because if I cannot say this here, I do not know where else I can say this. So I proceeded to give like a 30-second pitch of like, I tried hypnotherapy, and basically, I think it unlocked this gift within me. And I think I'm an energy healer, and I think that my hands move and they show me how to heal. And I was fully expecting for everyone to think that I was absolutely nuts. And they were like, wow, that's really cool. So, shout out to them, shout out to my husband, shout out to them for not making me feel like I was absolutely crazy and for just giving me a safe space. So, I was kind of like looking to the Reiki master and I was like, "Do your hands move? Like, is this a common experience?" And she like the basically throughout the training we learned that when you're working on someone, when you are conducting an energy healing session, like you do move your hands intuitively. And so I don't really know quite the degree that everyone is experiencing this the same way that I am, but I do know that your hands do move intuitively and you learn to trust your intuition throughout this process. So that was my Reiki 1 training that happened in April. I took the Reiki 2 training in June, and at this training, it was really interesting because my hands actually stopped moving. Up until this point, my hands would, when I had someone in front of me, I was just practicing on like my close family members and myself, really. And my hands would scan the body and then I would feel this like force pulling down on them, and they would land um, on a specific part of the person's body. And usually the feedback afterwards was, "Oh, you placed your hands exactly where I was feeling hip pain." Or I had someone else who suffered from like consistent um, headaches or migraines who was also in the training, and my hands would go to his head. So it was just like, it was interesting because I was just like, I don't even feel like I was the one doing it. I really don't. It was just like I was witnessing it all and just kind of surrendering to the process. But it was really interesting to see how my hands were able to kind of identify where someone else was experiencing pain in their body, or maybe where one of their chakras were imbalanced, unbalanced. So in the Reiki 2 training, my hands actually stopped moving. And what ended up happening instead was, instead of my hands directing me of where to go, my intuition kind of, I don't know if turned on is the right word, or like activated to the next level is the best way I can describe it. But I then started to feel in my body the pain that they were experiencing in their body. So, like, I'll give you an example. My husband, when I actually came home from that training, he was like, "Hey, my leg is actually in pain. I'm having a lot of pain in my leg. Would you mind giving me some Reiki on my leg?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course." And as I place my hands on his legs, I start to feel the pain in my legs in the exact place where he's experiencing pain. So it helps me know then where to move my hands. So that was fascinating and still something that I experience now. If I'm doing remote healing on someone who's 4 hours away, I can tune into their energy and immediately feel that they're having headaches or that they're nauseous or whatever the case is. So that was fascinating. I share all of this to kind of give you a summary of, over the course of 6 months. This is 6 months. So I made this commitment to myself in October of 2023. I said, I am going to live my life more fully and I'm going to follow my excitement, follow my interests, and follow my intuition. And as I was doing that, this led me to kind of like the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. Over the course of 6 months, I got to this place where I unlocked this gift that I had absolutely no idea of. So it just sent me on this path, sent me on this journey that I could not have predicted or planned for myself. And who knows if it would have unfolded in that way if I was following my logical mind. Like, there's no way I would have signed up for hypnotherapy if I was following my logical mind, because I could give you a million reasons why I did not need hypnotherapy or why I believed I did not need hypnotherapy at that time. So, throughout this entire time period, I am really just taking time to process it all, to integrate it all, to understand how this is fitting into my everyday life. I was mostly just working on using this to heal myself. Like, I would occasionally offer it to a family member or someone very close to me if they asked, but I was really just working on my own energy body every day, balancing my chakras and seeing a lot of progress. Like, I went from my hands working on my body for like an hour at a time until it decreased to like 15 minutes once things started to improve, or um, I was clearing out so much old or stagnant energy within my body. So in August, I started to feel the intuitive nudge to leave my job. Up until this point, I had been working for a larger tech company. I had been there for about 8 years, almost 8 years. And although I had thought about leaving this job in the past, like, this was the first time where I was actually feeling like it was my intuition saying it was time to go. And I feel like I was given like a specific time frame, like end of August, early September. But I doubted myself. I wasn't fully sure. This was such a big decision and a huge commitment. And I didn't have anything else, like a different job that I was planning to take instead. So this would have been a huge leap of faith for me, of like following my intuition and really not knowing what comes next and being able to take the leap or take the jump anyways. So I actually went to my Reiki practitioner and I was like, I need help because I am feeling like it's time to leave my job, but I don't know if it's my intuition speaking or if it's my, I don't know, not my fear speaking, but if it's my ego, if it's just a part of me that just like is done and just doesn't want to do it anymore, and it's hard. And I was so in it that it was really difficult to differentiate between the two. And so I went to her and she was like, "No, Lisa, I think it's your intuition." And she said the time frame that I'm getting is like end of August, early September, and the message I'm getting is take the leap of faith. And so I was like, "Okay, that's exactly what I feel like I was getting. So I'm just going to trust it." And I did. I quit my job in September, like the very first week of September 2024. And I said, this act, like me leaving, is me committing to following the path of my intuition. It is me saying full trust in the universe, full trust in myself, trust in my soul, that I don't have all the answers right now. I actually have no idea where this is going, but full trust that this is going to lead me in the direction of my purpose or joy or the fullest expression of me. I don't know. It's just like I was saying, okay, full trust. I'm committed. I'm committed to this journey. So I quit. I left my job to commit to living an intuitive life, or living an intuitively led life. At the time of this recording, it is March 2025. So I left my job about 6 months ago, and I have so much to share. about what took place during that time frame, and I'm still obviously like in the unfolding of this journey. There was a lot that went into me even sitting before you today and deciding I'm actually going to share this and I'm going to put this out there. But I wanted to start with that story because that was the beginning of it all. That was the why behind why I'm right here today. And it is something that I keep coming back to, honestly. There are days throughout this process where I'm like, what am I doing? And am I crazy? And is this real? And every time I just go back to, but Lisa, your hands move. But Lisa, your hands move. But Lisa, your hands heal. And that is what grounds me into this path and helps me trust that I'm headed in the right direction. So, that is all I wanted to share for today. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot more to share in the future, and I have a lot of things that I'm excited to talk about in future episodes. Um, but thank you so much for listening up until this point, and yeah, I will see you again in the next episode. Bye.